Greetings, adult collectors. I am Crash the Customizer. Welcome to another custom Transformers showcase. This is my custom Transformers animated Soundwave. Now, this is a figure I wasn't actually sure if I was going to do or not, because I wasn't really sure what mold to use. I had somebody in the comments suggest the Legacy Trailbreaker. I looked at that mold and it had potential to be Soundwave, but one of the issues I noticed was that if I were to use that mold, the chest would be the hood of the car as well, and it wouldn't look right. So I'd seen some pictures of somebody had taken a figure and made Soundwave, and I was like, what figure did they use? So I did some research, and I figured out that they used a Transformers Legacy Medix. So I thought, well, okay, so there we go. Now we know kind of what that person used. This is one I probably couldn't have figured out on my own. I just really was not sure what to use. I did do my own thing. I didn't just take someone else's design and just totally, copy them. So what I did with this figure is, I, of course, gave him the typical posable hands that I give all of my figures. So you can pose his thumb and fingers. I glued in a little Decepticon symbol here, where the original port for this went. And this here is what makes the front of the vehicle. So I had to cut out the port here, and I added these Lego pieces that allow it to connect later, so that I could kind of give him more of the Soundwave chest, and not have this gaping hole right here, and also, of course, have that little Decepticon symbol right in the middle. And the thing that I like the most about this is the head is actually from the original Transformers animated Soundwave. Because I actually used to have a Transformers animated Soundwave, but I used that to make another custom before I knew about the Transformers Legacy Bumblebee and Optimus Prime, because at that time, those weren't even a thought. So I had a figure in mind I wanted to use that for. And then they came out with those, and it's like, okay, so not need a new Soundwave. So here's what I come up with. And this was honestly probably one of the more difficult customs to make, because I had to try to figure out how to make the transformation work after adding the posable hand, which is always not very easy, because certain figures of how they transform, it can cause issues with posable hands. And also, some of the paint details I added to this thing was really, really precise. So they were kind of, I wouldn't say hard, but it wasn't really easy. One that I do have an issue with is this particular arm is really loose and tends to want to do this. It just flops around. That's just a problem with this mold. This is actually a figure that has been continuously remolded, so it's just kind of something you come to accept. But honestly, this figure turned out pretty good, I'd say. So now I'll bring in some comparisons. Here he is with his creator, Megatron. Here he is with Starscream. Here he is with Lugnut and Blitzwing. Just because, here he is with the other wave, Shockwave. And here he is with Lockdown. And now I'll bring in some Autobot comparisons. So here he is with Optimus Prime and Sentinel Prime. Here he is with Bumblebee and Bulkhead. And here he is with Ratchet and Prowl. So I'd say he scales alright with the others. So now it's time to get him into vehicle mode. So to do that, I did have some things I didn't want to have to do, and that is, you have to take these off, because there is no way to make these actually work with the stuff I added. But that doesn't really bother me too much, but I still wish I could have found a way to avoid that. So anyway, we're left with this. So what I'm going to do is we're going to collapse up his fingers here, and we're going to pop that back on. I probably will glue that later. It doesn't need to move. Anyway, so just kind of collapse up his fingers and collapse up his thumb there, just like that. So we got kind of some fists going there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take this section here, and we need to make sure that these little things here are flipped up, and then flip the chest section, which will get his head underneath here, and then it does create this little quite a bit of a gap there, so I had to cut that section out for his head to work. But so the next thing we need to do is we need to take this section here and collapse it up. So we had to collapse up his entire waist section and these legs, which honestly is not easy to do because the legs don't really want to stay, so it makes it really hard. There we go. Now I can collapse his arms up. You have to try to line up the arms with the tab, and then it also has to line up with this section here. Because I actually had to cut this section where it actually flips down to be able to make it actually be on the arms. So you gotta line that up. Just kind of rotate the arm down, line it up. Get it to go right there. And we'll just kind of tab in right here. So once we have that, then we can tab his legs together here, which is kind of hard to do. You gotta get things lined up just right. We get his legs tabbed in, and then we tab in this section right here. And we fold down his legs, and then they will tab into the doors here. So everything's all lined up right. And we flip his wheels up, which actually is kind of cool because in the original vehicle, the wheels actually were on the back like this and flipped up like that. So you can kind of do this, and now he's got like a hovercraft mode or something. I don't know. Anyway, flip the wheels up, and then now we take this, peg it into these little Lego ports here. These are from these flat tiles that peg in to these studs. So line that up. They'll peg in like that, give it the front of the vehicle. And there's really no place to put these, but oh well. So as you can see, the vehicle has all the painted details it needs. Has that detail on the door. I painted that little section there. Painted the section on the hood here. I even was able to paint on the little on button right there, and then the things here, and then this whole section here is Lego flat tiles, and then small Lego cheese wedges. And then there's this little stud here. Wonder what that's for. Who knows? Probably not important. So anyway, there we have Soundwave in his vehicle mode. And honestly, it really does look like Soundwave. Because this looks just like how Soundwave looked in animated, really. I mean, it's pretty much the same vehicle. Now, obviously, one thing is the transformation is actually backwards, because the original figure, Soundwave's vehicle mode, was like you took his legs and made the front of the vehicle, and then his arms made the back. When with this, the back of the vehicle is made from his legs, and the front of the vehicle is made from his arms. But honestly, I think that's kind of a cool thing to have him be like backwards like that. So, yeah, I think this figure turned out pretty good, actually. I mean, it definitely looks show accurate. The vehicle mode actually kind of pulls off the whole animated look. So, yeah. So now I'll bring in some comparisons. Here he is with his creator, Megatron. Here he is with Lugnut. Here he is with Blitzwing in his jet mode. Here he is with Blitzwing in his tank mode. Here he is with Starscream. Just because, here he is with Shockwave. Here he is with Lockdown. And now for the Autobot. Here he is with Optimus Prime and Sentinel Prime. Bumblebee and Bulkhead. And here he is with Ratchet and Prowl. And one thing I just want to mention is from this figure came this little light bar that I went and stuck on Ratchet. So to get Soundwave back into his robot mode, the first thing we need to do is we need to unpeg this section here. So we're left with that, which looks a little odd. So then what we're going to do is we're going to untab the doors here so that we can bring his little wheels back and then unattach his legs. So just kind of fold his legs up like this. And we got this. So then we're going to unattach his arms, which they need to unpeg and just fold them out. Unattach his arms, fold them out. So then we need to take the waist section here, just kind of fold that up. So we got that. Now split the legs. Then we bring down his chest, bring this section here up, and it has little tabs it'll tab into. Flip these sections down, rotate his arms up, and then we gotta get things kind of locked into place. There are little tab sections there. It'll peg his legs in place. Now I gotta put his shins back on, and I did have to cut a little bit of this inside section out so that I could actually make this come off a lot easier, since I had to actually have it come off for the transformation. So that way we can just pop them right back on, flip them up, and then we'll bring down his fingers here, bring down his thumb. And there really isn't a place to put this, but oh well. So there we have Soundwave back into his robot mode. It does look like Soundwave, and yes, it has some issues with the arms being kind of loose, but that's just kind of part of the mold. I do wish I could have figured out a way to make these actually stay on in vehicle mode, but adding the posable hands did kind of an issue. And one thing I do want to mention, even with this head, it still has a perfect range of motion, so you can turn it on the ball joint, so it's not like hindered because it's a different head. You even turn it all the way around. So yeah, this figure really did turn out pretty good. So if you liked this video, be sure to check out the playlist in the description below. They'll take you to all of my other animated customs. There will be a link in the description that will also take you to my other channel where I do stop motions. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Crash the Customizer, out.
And why have you decided to do this now? And what makes you think that together we can defeat the Autobots, given that I have tried multiple times and never succeeded? You make a good case. I will allow you to join my ranks, but I will not tolerate failure. Let us hope not, because I created you, but I can destroy you. Now, do you have any ideas on how to defeat the Autobots? And to what does that refer exactly? Fine. But I better not have to wait long. I do not like waiting.